Hi, Read 570, and welcome to your final Screencast, Unit 5, Web, the Role of the Reading Specialist in School Reform. Let's begin by reviewing the readings from the previous unit. The changing role of the reading specialist in school reform. Reviewed how the role of the reading specialist has changed since 1965. A great year, by the way. Highlighted key areas of change with the new ESEA, so the new Education Act in 2000. It's due to be revised again soon. The goal is the same, improved reading and academic achievement for all in that act. There were 3 critical features, however. All teachers need to be highly qualified to teach reading. The reading instructional strategies and programs used to teach reading should be scientifically based. If you've had the curriculum course already, you should have gone over how scientifically based came out of the last round of government-sponsored literature review searches that found that all things should be scientifically based, which means that they basically have a quantified research support system. So you had to have done quant research instead of qualitative research. Effective and efficient informal assessment techniques should inform instruction and assist teachers in monitoring and the progress of each child. So informal assessment as well as formal assessment, so think formative and summative. The role of coaches in professional development, they highlighted 5 potential kinds of supports for teachers: theory, demonstration, practice, feedback, and in-class coaching. And finally, the reading specialist as coach, the new model. So this is what it went through over the time, and now with the new model there were 2 key areas: teaching demonstrations, maintained from the previous, and modeling of lessons. I would say you still need to have theory behind what you're doing. You still need to be able to provide feedback. You still need to be able to do tandem in-class coaching, and you have to have excellent practice. Continuing to change from the reading coach, what should the coach be able to do? They have to have a greater level of reading expertise than the teachers they are coaching, know how to teach reading extremely well and have actually done it successfully, be reflective about your own instructional practice, be able to articulate what you are seeing in a classroom, be able to support and to nudge those teachers. Plan and organize on the run. Many of you might find yourselves working out of a closet and principals asking you to run down to room 3 and help out. So all of that will require that you have a sense of humor. So from the other article, what am I supposed to do all day? 3 big ideas for the reading coach. Focus your interest and attention on your primary goal. And so I added, okay, so first you have to have a goal. Having done the school-wide data analysis project, I think you're beginning to see at least that you have to go through that process to determine what the goals should be, that the data should help guide your goal creation. Ensure that you are frequently in classrooms. That can be more and more difficult depending on what the administration has assigned you to do and how welcoming those teachers are. Establish yourself as someone who can help teachers with their reading instruction. Sometimes you have to play humble pie. A roadmap for reading specialists working in schools without exemplary reading programs. This was the last article to choose from. They had 7 quick lessons for you. 1, reading specialists may have to establish an exemplary reading program if one doesn't exist. So your role may be to determine the curriculum. 2, the reading specialist may have to define their own role. If it hasn't been done for you, it's better for you to do it. 3, being reflective is essential. There's a bit of a theme. 4, you may need to align your role as the reading specialist within the school context. So you may come with some preconceived notions of what your role should be, but when you get to the school, you may find it has to change a bit. 5, you will need to establish measurable goals and plan instructional enhancements, again tying it back to that data. 6, reading specialists will have to sustain momentum and support teachers and students. And 7, reading specialists will need to use the teacher's perceptions of the reading specialist that they find useful for helping them advance their students' literacies. So you need to understand how they see you and what they perceive as your role to help guide the whole thing. And so once we've looked at all the different reading, I think it helps if you know what others read, since you only had to read 2 of those. Now we can take a look at the blog. What you're taking away from the reading regarding the role of the specialist. Dole, 2004, states that reading specialists can play a critical role in the professional development of teachers, serving as mentors to teachers to help them apply in their classrooms the new strategies and practices they learn about. I don't fix these, I just clip and paste. Dole and Donaldson suggest that a reading specialist should visit classrooms frequently in order to provide guidance and support for teachers. You can't do it all from that closet they assign you to. If teachers are not coached to use new strategies and skills in their own environment, it often results in failure. Sometimes you see a lot of that drive-by professional development. You get a 1 day on it and they never come back again. Most research has found that it only works if when they get back to their site, they have continued support on how to implement. By working together to write an objective for a lesson, create a lesson to model for her, and a follow-up lesson where I could observe, Miss Dibbles would be receiving the practice, modeling, and feedback necessary to deepen her skills as a teacher. I would guide the teacher through the process and lend support and praise for her hard work. I think that it's important for a teacher to know that they are doing a good job. Everybody likes to hear that they're doing a good job. I love the analogy of the reading coach being like a basketball coach. Again, I don't edit these, I cut and paste. Collaborating with her and empowering my fictional teacher, Mrs. Armstrong, to share or train her colleagues on guided reading will definitely help bring change. As the article Room to Improve states, veteran teachers do not have to throw away what they have been doing in the classroom. They can build on what they already know. That's how you sometimes get the best buy-in. Continuing, Janice Dole states that one of the most important findings in the research on teaching is that highly trained and qualified teachers make a significant difference in student achievement. All of you are about to go really change some lives. While working with teachers, I will have to differentiate my coaching approaches according to the individuals. All instruction needs to be differentiated. The teacher who is taught for many years and resists change, I feel, will not welcome me as a fellow professional because I do not have the many years of classroom experience that compare with their background. Many folks feel that as they go out to become that reading specialist, that reading coach, if they've had a few years under their belt. And really it doesn't matter how many you've had. I'd had about 12 before I began coaching, and I just look little and young, and I still got flack too. You have to get past it and work to build a rapport. I believe that my work with Ms. Dibbles is part of the school reform puzzle, because as this teacher becomes a stronger and more confident in the strategies and the skills of her own teaching, the students benefit as well as the school itself. These are the types of things that a reading consultant needs to be aware of. The socioeconomic factors, the staff factors, and the administration's lack of support, since they are unsure exactly what it is we do. Then I think one of your first jobs is to ask for a meeting to go in and suggest how you could best help the school. And I would bring that data with me when I went. Word will gradually get out that I assisted Miss Dibbles in becoming a more effective teacher. This will make another teacher or two more likely to collaborate with me or receive my professional development with a more interested ear. It's true, word spreads like wildfire. Adult learners can be so much harder than kids. I'm going to let that one just sit and ruminate. Therefore, working as a team to improve teacher effectiveness is vital. So this week's reading, you have 2 to choose from. Homeschool Partnerships and Literacy Education, From Rhetoric to Reality. Design Characteristics of Effective Homeschool Connections. Key goals are identified and proven strategies are used. Ongoing training, communication, and support for the home should be provided. Authentic reading texts are provided. Activities are easy, enjoyable, and consistent. Home activities are documented. I don't love that one. That makes me think of the reading logs that my sons used to bring home, and as a parent, I despised those. I was also a teacher, a classroom teacher at the time, where we also had our 20 minutes at home. There's a couple things that I struggle with that. One is my son would normally have read for longer than 20 minutes, and once you told him to read for 20, that's what he did because he was a rule follower like his mother. The other thing is my kids did read every night, but I didn't fill in the sheet every night. So at the end of 20 days, I was stuck going through their basket of books trying to remember what the heck we read, and it just drove me nuts. I just think there are better ways for kids to include the home in the reading and the work that they're doing at school. I've always talked about the idea of teaching comprehension strategies in the classroom and then saying, okay, tonight I'm giving you 3 post-it notes. I want you to practice predicting tonight. So while you're reading, when you make a prediction, I want you to put a post-it note on that page. And tomorrow I'm going to call on 3 of you, and you don't know which 3 it is, and I'm going to ask you where your post-it note is and what you predicted. I think that's such a better way to document what's going on at home than to have parents sign off on something. Because, if they're just signing a sheet, it may not mean that they did it anyway. Tales Out of School, Accounting for Adolescents in a Literacy Reform Community. A novel concept, asking the adolescents what they think is needed in school reform. Okay, so it's a great idea, but how do you do it? They recommend student-teacher feedback teams, so talking to the kids. Students as collaborative researchers, so they can kind of go out and see what's happening in other places and come back and everybody share. Tapping uncommonly caring teachers. Student advisory councils. So that's all the front loading I'm doing on the articles. You'll have those to read this week and a blog to participate in. But phew, that's the last screencast. You did it. You made it through 5 furious weeks. Okay, almost. I'm hoping you came away with a new understanding of the various roles of the reading specialist. It goes way beyond just working one-on-one with children. It's a tough job, but you might just be the one to do it.